Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel, The Cutest Little Thing, Upcycle with Andrea. I am Andrea, and I thank you so much for hopping on to watch this video today. If you enjoy thrift flips, DIYs, home decor, upcycling, and all of the things, then you are at the right place. If you like what you see today, I hope that you will hit that like button, even subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and maybe even share it out with a friend who you think will like it too. You can also find me on Facebook and TikTok. Follow me there as well. Alright, let's get started with our projects for today. For this project, I have this surplus amount of Starbucks bottles that I've been collecting in my stash. I took them all outside after a good cleaning and I spray painted them with regular white spray paint just to give them a primer coat. Now I am coating each of them with Elmer's glue. As you can see, I'm just putting that Elmer's glue directly on the bottle, and I have a little spritz bottle of water there that I'm spraying on to the glue just to water it down. And doing this method, it gives it more of a Mod Podge consistency. And I do all the bottles that way and I let them dry completely. And that's sort of going to give me a crackling technique, and it's also going to help my paint adhere, my chalk paint adhere. And here I'm going in with the color plaster in the Waverly, and I did 2 coats on each bottle. Now I have my labels here. I printed these off of my inkjet printer. I purchased these images off of an Etsy shop, and I will include that link in the description below. And if you are watching from Facebook, you can always comment and ask any questions where I get, the labels and different things, because I don't usually include the links on my Facebook videos. So just feel free to comment and ask any questions. So now I'm just taking Mod Podge and applying right on the front of each bottle and laying those labels down. And I have a balled up piece of saran wrap and rubbing across those labels. And that just helps to get out any creases or wrinkles that try to come up. And just helps everything lay down smoothly. And it also saves your fingers from getting all in the Mod Podge. And I just had a variety of different labels I chose and just cut them out. Now to embellish the top, I have this homespun fabric I get from Walmart. It's actually on walmart.com. And they're like pre-cut squares, and I'm just selecting the colors and the patterns that I want for each bottle that kind of matches each label the best. And I'm just taking jute string and just wrapping around the top of the bottle and hot gluing it in place in the back. And then I'm just taking some fabric, that same homespun fabric, and I'll kind of do a slit with my scissors, and then I'll rip it and tear it into pieces. And I just use those little strips to make a cute little bow to embellish the top of these. And I also have that lace there. I purchased that off of Amazon usually. And I'm just cutting that to fit as well for my bow. And I tie all that together with jute string. And I just hot glued that right to the front. But before I do, I went in with my DIY clear wax. And y'all, I have just not long ago started using the DIY clear wax. And I absolutely love it. I am a new fan of the DIY clear wax. So I just used that. I sealed the entire bottle. I sealed in the chalk paint. And I also sealed in that label with it. And I just went and did each bottle the same technique as far as tying the homespun fabric, the pre-cut squares over the top of each bottle and wrapping that jute string around, hot gluing it in the back to secure it. And then I did all of them with a cute little bow in the front with the lace and the homespun fabric. And some of them I also used little strips of burlap. And you can see some of them I had the little rusty stars in the center. I had buttons I used on some. And I had the little rusty jingle bells that I used on some of them. All of those I got off of Amazon, except for the little handmade with love buttons came from Temu, and the little heart-shaped buttons came from Temu as well, but I will include all of those links in the description. I'm showing you here that I went and applied. I wanted to kind of give these, some of them a vintage look. Some of them I left as is with the brighter white color. But here I just went on and I rubbed on the DIY wax. And then I went in with my DIY dark wax just to give it a vintage look. And I rubbed that on. You can see there where I rubbed it on with my finger. And I also have my coffee grunge sitting there. I rubbed on as well. And then I wiped back any excess with a dry paper towel. And if you're not familiar with coffee grunge, that is another awesome little recipe you need in your craft room. It is instant coffee, hot water, cinnamon, nutmeg, and vanilla. You stir that all up, and you can keep it refrigerated between uses. But I did a couple of different techniques getting that vintage look. I did the coffee grunge on some, and you can see I'm just taking that dry paper towel and wiping away that excess. And now on this one, I'm applying that DIY clear wax, and then I'm going in and sprinkling in some cinnamon and just taking my fingers and rubbing that cinnamon in that wax. And then you just kind of wipe off the excess with your dry paper towel, and that just rubs that cinnamon into that wax and gives it a little bit of a different look. And then at the end, I sprayed and sealed all of these in with Mod Podge matte sealer. And that was that, guys. Look how cute these turned out. Each one is just super cute. I love each label, and some of them are a different size. But I just love these. I think they're super cute to add to your centerpieces as shelf sitters or with other little Christmas vignettes in your home. Thanks so much for joining me to make these, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Okay guys, this is a little hanger that I had in my stash, and somehow I lost footage from where I chalk painted it white, and I do not have a before picture or anything, but I put 2 coats of plaster on in the Waverly chalk paint, and I have this image here that I purchased from an Etsy shop, and I am applying Mod Podge matte onto the back of that image. And I'm just placing it onto this wooden hanger. And my printer is just a regular inkjet printer that I use to print my images off of. And I'm just making sure I've got plenty of Mod Podge applied on. You don't want to use too much, but you want to be sure you use enough for your image to adhere like it should to your piece. And now for this overhang that's hanging off, I'm just taking an 80 grit piece of sandpaper, and I'm just brushing in a downward motion, and it sort of creases that paper and just rubs away any excess paper hanging off. And now I'm just taking that sandpaper and distressing the edges of my hanger. Now I take my X-Acto knife, and where this hanger had the 3 separate pieces and there were spaces between each piece. I wanted you to be able to still see those spaces. So I just took my X-Acto knife and just, you saw how I just went right in that little crease and made that cut. And now I just took my sandpaper and just sanded right around each little section. And I also just sanded around the edge of the image because I wanted that image to sort of look blended into that hanger. I wanted it to look like it was painted onto this board rather than decoupaged on. And doing this technique just sort of makes it blend more into your piece. So I just continued to do that until I got the look that I was happy with, and also giving it a little bit of a distressed look. And now I'm going in with antique wax. This is also in the Waverly. And I'm just going around the outside edge of my hanger, just sort of highlighting around the edge, just giving it a distressed look. And that brown to me just also blends with the brown tones in our snowman image, and I think it just ties everything together really nicely. And I did decide to go ahead and brush that antique wax onto the white parts showing on each side of that snowman image. I love this snowman image. I think he is so adorable. And I will include that link to that Etsy shop in the description below if you are watching on YouTube. If you are watching on Facebook and you want to know, just comment and I will gladly share that information with you and give you that link for the Etsy shop. These are little half beads, the wooden half beads I get from Amazon. I brushed on that antique wax over them as well, and I hot glued them into all four corners. And I thought that added a nice touch. Look how cute he turned out, guys. I love this. This is super cute to use as an ornament on your Christmas tree for the Christmas season. And after Christmas, you can cut away that Merry Christmas ribbon. I did add the bow and use all winter long. For this project, off video, I had a little tree cut out from Dollar Tree, and I traced around it over my drop cloth and then cut that out. And now I'm just taking and hot gluing two of those cutouts together. I have some polyfill here from an old pillow that I am stuffing them with. And I just started at the top and I glued that pointed section and I stuffed that. And then I just keep gluing a section at a time. And I will allow it to dry for a little bit and then I'll stuff that. Because if you try to stuff it when the glue is still hot, it'll just pull apart. So you want to give it time for your hot glue to cool down before you start trying to stuff it. And it's really your preference if you want them super full or if you don't want quite as much stuffing. I sort of do mine medium. I don't get them super full and firm, but I don't get them, you know, that loose either. It's just a good even amount that I will stuff mine. And you just want to line up, kind of line up before you put your hot glue just to make sure everything's going to piece together okay and you don't need to trim or anything. And then just apply that hot glue and then stuff in that polyfill. And I will get down to the very bottom and leave the trunk part open. And then I'll finish stuffing it just to make sure, and you can kind of just feel the tree and just make sure there's not any holes in there or anything, and just kind of fluff all that polyfill up just to make sure it's, you know, how you like it. And I took some dried beans. I get this big bag of dried pinto beans from my local Walmart. And I stuffed some of those dried beans so that they'll be at the bottom of the tree. And the weight of those dried beans just kind of help the tree stand up. And it just gives it a little bit of weight so they're not quite so light. And if you want, you could hang a jute string from the top of these. You could use them as ornaments in your Christmas tree. You can use them as little shelf sitters on your shelves and tables and things. Now, these stars I had in my stash, they came off of another piece, and I just took my DIY dark wax and brushed over those stars just to kind of touch them up and give them more of like a rusty look. They were already like a brownish reddish color, and by adding that DIY dark wax, it just kind of deepened that color and made it look a bit more rusty. And I hot glued that to the top of my tree. And you can also, once you get your entire tree hot glued, you can just kind of check all the corners and the edges just to make sure your glue, you know, is holding. And because sometimes you might have a little section that tries to pull apart, especially where there's a corner or a little edge somewhere, you know, or a point. So you just want to check all those areas. Now here I have some hand spun fabric I get from Walmart online. I order this online. I don't think they have it in the store, or not mine anyway. I just cut a strip of that fabric and hot glued on. I'm just kind of embellishing my little trees here. To start with, I took this little Merry Christmas wooden cutout and I was going to hot glue it onto that piece of fabric that I added. But I ended up not liking the way that it looked, so I just put it to the side for a future project. And I just grabbed a piece of lace and hot glued that over that fabric instead. And then I have these buttons. I get these off of Amazon in bulk. It's like a bulk bag of all different sizes, and you can kind of choose the color bundle that you want. And I also cut some more pieces of fabric, like little patches almost, and I hot glued that over on the side. And then I wanted one more little piece a little bit smaller than the piece I just cut out to put up on the other side. And I just hot glued that on there as well. And now I'm just taking those buttons, some more of those buttons, and hot gluing those. These cute little heart buttons I got off of Temu. And those that I just showed you there, they say handmade with love. And I got those from Temu as well. And here are some other little trees that I embellished. I did them all about the same way. And look how cute they turned out. I love them. Let me know what you think.